Two Presidents and Prime Minister. Joseph Biden, Jr., President of the United States of America. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be back here in Mexico City. I want to thank you, Mr. President, for hosting the Prime Minister and me for the 10th North American Leaders Summit. This is a magnificent forum. And we're true partners, the three of us, working together with mutual respect and a genuine like for one another to advance a safer and more prosperous future for all of our people. And the reason for this summit, this trilateral relationship, are so impactful is because we share a common vision for the future grounded on common values. And I mean that sincerely, common values we share in our countries. Since becoming president, I've been laser focused on rebuilding the U.S. economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not the trickle-down economy, because the bottom up and the middle out, it works because the wealthy do very well and everybody else does well too, but everybody does well. And from the bottom up, it means investing in priorities for working families. The United States has made historic bipartisan investments in infrastructure and innovation that are already beginning to deliver concrete benefits to the American people, and I would argue it will ultimately reap benefits for the entire North America. We've renewed our dependence, deepened our cooperation with our closest friends and allies, none closer than Mexico and Canada, to take on the biggest challenges facing the region and, quite frankly, the world. Because there can no longer be any question, none, in today's interconnected world. We cannot wall ourselves off from shared problems. We are stronger and better when we work together, the three of us. And together, we've made enormous progress since our last summit, from fighting COVID-19 and strengthening our ability to address public health threats, to investing in and building a 21st century workforce. At the top of our shared agenda today is keeping North America the most competitive, prosperous, and resilient economic region of the world. And the strength of our economic relationship among our nations not only supports good-paying jobs in all of our countries, but it generates tremendous growth. Now we're working to a future to strengthen our cooperation on supply chains and critical minerals so we can continue to accelerate in our efforts to build the technologies of tomorrow right here in North America. This summit also builds on the continual consultation and cooperation with one another to take on the challenges that impact all three of our nations. Our entire hemisphere is experiencing unprecedented levels of migration, greater than any time in history. And North America, at the North America Summit Leaders hosted in Washington in 2021, we launched the idea of a regional-wide approach to a regional-wide problem. The idea grew into the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, which 21 countries ultimately adopted at the Summit of the Americas 6 months ago. And we're working together, especially with our North American partners, to fulfill our commitments under that declaration. They include the policy I announced last week to expand safe and legal pathways for immigrants from Nicaragua, Cuba, and Haiti. And we're seeking a better life here in the United States of America. We also want to thank you, Mr. President, for stepping up to receive into Mexico those not following the lawful pathways we've made available instead of attempting to unlawfully cross the border between our countries. On my way here, I stopped in El Paso, Texas, to see the situation with my own eyes and to meet with U.S. border security officials. It's putting real strain on the communities in both Mexico and the United States. We're working together to address this challenge in a way that upholds our nation's laws and protects the human rights of migrants facing desperate circumstances. We're also working together to take on the scourge of human smuggling and illegal drug trafficking. In just the last 6 months, our joint patrols in Mexico have resulted in the arrest of more than 7,000 human smugglers. We've seized more than 20,000 pounds of deadly fentanyl at the border. And today, we've discussed how all three of us can continue to deepen and strengthen our shared efforts to cut off the flow of illegal fentanyl, including by tackling the precursor chemicals used in synthetic drugs as we go after the laboratories where they're made and the stash houses where they're stored. We also talked about meeting our commitments to make North America a clean energy powerhouse, and I believe that's within our grasp, and a global leader in addressing the climate crisis. That means working together to promote zero-emissions vehicles, to build charging stations for electric vehicles that are compatible across our international borders. It means exploring shared markets for clean hydrogen, and it means working together to meet our ambitious commitments under the Paris Agreement, including tackling methane and black carbon. And finally, as three vibrant democracies, we recognize our greatest strength is our people. Let me say that again. Vital democracies, we are, and our greatest strength are our people, the strength of our people. And the key to our competitive edge in the world is our incredible diversity. So together, we're working to address the inequities that for too long have plagued historically marginalized communities in each of our nations, to make sure everyone gets a fair shot. It's one of the smartest investments we can make for our future, and we're going to make it together. So, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm honored to stand with you today, and I'm grateful to have both of you as partners, and I might add friends, as we work together to realize a shared vision for North America. Thank you very much.
Hace uso de la palabra el excelentísimo señor Justin Trudeau, primer ministro de Canadá.
Bonjour, good afternoon, buenas tardes. President López Obrador, mi amigo, thank you for having us here in Mexico City. President Biden, my friend, thank you for all your hard work and your valuable insights at today's meetings. As a continent, we are unique. We are three large democracies committed to freedom, human rights, equality, and creating real opportunity for everyone. We share deep ties as friends and trading partners. Au cours des 30 dernières années, les économies du Mexique, des États-Unis et du Canada sont devenues intimement liées grâce à l'ALENA. Cet accord a fait croître nos économies, il a créé des millions de bons emplois et le libre-échange
millions of good employments, and the trade amongst our borders drew investors from the world over.
Now, the most competitive in the world. It makes sense why. Combined, we are home to 500 million people. We have an extraordinarily strong innovation ecosystem. Our combined GDP is larger than that of the European Union. And as leaders, we are all dedicated to driving economic growth that supports the middle class and those working hard to join it. These are all foundations of a strong and resilient continental economy. People remember what happened just a few years ago when the certainty of this partnership was in question. Investors, businesses, workers, and citizens all worried about what would happen. When free trade is at risk, that isn't good for competition in the global market. Thankfully, the belief in free and fair trade won the day. We renegotiated and we got an even better deal. To put it simply, we are and always will be stronger together. The world today is facing a lot of uncertainty, with the rise in authoritarian leaders causing global instability and the high cost of living putting stress on families at home. It's important that we come together as leaders and as friends to look at ways to make our economies more resilient. Today we discussed how we can build reliable value chains on this continent for everything from critical minerals to electric vehicles to semiconductors. This is good for workers, good for consumers, and good for communities across our countries. La COVID-19 nous a montré toute l'importance des chaînes d'approvisionnement, de la résilience
of supply chains and economic resilience, the importance of being prepared, being ready to face a new pandemic and try to prevent it. Today we spoke about a way to improve our cooperation in the realm of health services in order to be ready to intervene.
Our economic resilience even further through our work to build a clean economy. Things like clean energy, including hydrogen, manufacturing zero-emission vehicles, and encouraging more people to adopt them. This is an enormous opportunity for workers and for business. On doit tous prendre part à l'action
We
climatique.
should all be part of climate action. Government and private sector should work together to attain the 2030 goals and objectives. These goals are not only about reducing pollution to get to the Paris objectives. They have to do with our engagements to preserve 30% of our lands and oceans in 2030. In last COP15 in Montreal, Canada convened the countries around the world, and we reached a historic agreement to preserve and protect nature. This is essential for the health of the economy.
To have our Mexican and American friends committed so strongly to protecting clean air, clean water, and a brighter future. Canada is also pleased to see all three countries take steps towards building a more diverse, equal, and inclusive society, a society where there is opportunity for everyone, where women and girls are politically and economically empowered, including Indigenous women and girls, where the benefits of growth are felt by workers and families across the economy. By doing this, we create a more stable, prosperous, and equal future. And we build economies that work for all North Americans. We made progress on a lot of different things today. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and as North American leaders, we recognize the roles our countries play in being a source of stability and security, not just in the region, but around the world. Ce sommet a été productif.
This summit was extremely fruitful. We were able to reiterate our vision and the force of our partnership.
In the coming year, and I look forward to hosting you both in Canada for the next North American Leaders Summit. Thank you. Merci. Gracias.
Now, let's give the floor to Mr. Andrés Manuel López Obrador, President of the United Mexican States. I want to thank, in a very sincere fashion, the participation of President Biden and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and also the participation of their respective wives, Jill, Dr. Sophie, and I also want to thank their delegations and teams. The mere fact of being here together today as good neighbors in this environment of respect to look for the well-being of our peoples in a joint manner is in itself a very important historic event, a true happening. Nonetheless, I wanted to highlight that we've agreed on strengthening our economic, trade, commercial relations, and for that we're going to be creating a joint committee aimed at planning and substituting imports in North America so that we may try to be increasingly self-sufficient in this part of the world, and to turn development cooperation into a reality, as well as the well-being of all the countries of our continent. We want that to be a reality. The United States, Canada, and Mexico will propose, each one of those countries will be proposing 4 members for the formation, for the creation of this task force, of this committee of 12 specialists that not only know this issue we are going to be working on, but they will also have our absolute trust to motivate, to persuade, and invite the business community, workers, public servants of all 3 governments, and to convince them about the importance, the transcendence of being united in North America, and for us to be able to seek from here on this unity in everything we do throughout the American continent. On the part of Mexico, in this group, we are going to be represented by Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard, Rogelio Ramírez de la O, Finance Minister of Mexico, Raquel Buenrostro Sanchez, who is the Secretary of Economy, and Alfonso Romo Garza, who represents the business community. He's an independent businessman, Mr. Romo is. And we also discussed, as a priority issue, economic, commercial, trade integration, as I have already expressed, of the entire American continent, and the well-being of the peoples, and the new relations of cooperation, leaving behind interventionism, hegemonic interventionism. Let me do a set-aside here to express my acknowledgement, my recognition to Prime Minister Trudeau and President Biden for the way which has been so solidary, in which they've acted, in which they are acting vis-a-vis the attempt of coup d'etat in Brazil. This shows that there's a commitment, authentic commitment, in favor of democracy. Our support for President Lula of Brazil. We have to, together, we have to be able to accomplish all this. Everything that President Biden just said, we have to be able to accomplish this. That is, in equal footing, for us to be treating each other as good neighbors, economic allies, and as friends. We, of course, will be helping to turn this dream into a reality. And we are very enthused at the certainty that this is something we can accomplish. Peace is the result of justice. Social problems cannot be solved only with coercion measures. We should always attend to the scourge of violence and the migration phenomenon with an approach, humanitarian approach of opportunities for the well-being of everyone. People are good by nature, And it's circumstances that sometimes make it necessary for someone to take the path of antisocial behaviors. We have seen this in Mexico and also in our sister countries, the countries of Honduras and El Salvador, for instance. In our country, in Mexico, since corruption is not allowed and the budget is used for development and supporting the poorest sectors of our population, today we not only have jobs, employment, we have seen reductions in violence, we have less migration as well. And we've also tempered frustration. And what we can see is this flame which is alive. I'm talking about the flame of hope. Peace is the fruit, it is the result of justice. The Central American case is exceptional. With just few resources, we are helping producers in communities in Honduras and El Salvador, so that they can grow their land, so that they can grow their crops with technical assistance, support, and basic income. And in those towns where we are applying those actions, particularly the program we call Sembrando Vida, which means sowing life and youth building the future program, we've not just seen a reduction of people wanting to migrate to the United States seeking opportunities of better living conditions and jobs. But for many young people of those countries, crime has stopped being the only possibility of survival and the only way to move forward in life. The migration issue, as many other issues, as discussed in a very broad fashion, and we reached important agreements among the three countries for the benefit of our peoples, as you will be able to see, as you will also be able to know, through a communique, a joint communique that we have that will be provided to you immediately. Finally, I want to thank Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for his extraordinary and fraternal program that consists of granting temporary working visas for laborers, workers. This program is already benefiting 25,000 men and women, 25,000 Mexicans. This is a path to follow that is orderly migration. Prime Minister Trudeau is a great ally of Mexico. President Biden, I want to thank you sincerely for maintaining with Mexico a relationship of cooperation, of friendship, sincere friendship, sir, of respect for our fellow men who live and work in a very honest fashion in the United States, who are not harassed. They're not suffering rates, as it unfortunately it used to happen in the past. We have said this, and I repeat it today. I insist on this. You, President Biden, you are the first president of the United States in a very long time that has not built not even 1 meter of wall. And that, we thank you for that, sir. Although some might not like it, although the conservatives don't like it. In a very special manner, I also want to say that I have requested, in a very respectful manner, President Biden, I have requested on insisting, and I know that this is not a simple issue or matter, but it's a fair and very just matter. And that's why I'm proposing it. That's why I'm mentioning this. And also because I fully trust President Biden. I've asked President Biden to insist before the U.S. Congress to regularize the migration situations of millions of Mexicans who have been in the States, working, living in the United States, and contributing to the development of that great nation, which is the United States of America. I have reaffirmed that President Biden is a man with convictions, who maintains principles, ideals to guarantee, to ensure, as many others, men, women, in the United States and throughout the world. And the Statue of Liberty never, never, ever should become a symbol, a void, an empty symbol. Let me conclude by saying that my professor, great poet, Carlos Pellicer, my master, my teacher in 1930, he said that the wish of freedom, of liberty, is the biggest fruit that has materialized, that is in the heart of humans. To be doing that, we have to be free. The sentiments of justice are the children of freedom, of liberty. Never, ever being slaves will we be able to be just and fair. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.